Hey everybody. We're going to get started here in a minute. Apologies for being late again. But it's shaping up to be a crazy week. Hope everybody had a restful weekend because we all need it. Next week is going to be very, very eventful. Not only because of the obvious. It is the presidential election here in the United States. It's also the FOMC meeting. Troy Atman, what's up? Thanks, Troy. Yeah, we have a new mic. I've been playing with some of the audio settings. I know Alan's is almost over, thank God. Well, we'll see. We need to, we're going to be in the thick of it next week. We'll talk about it. Michael G. Tatted T. Austin City Limits, Sabrina Fair. Not too much movement after hours, but you know, we'll get right into it. Sally, welcome. Connie Ruiz, Ben. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity this week. Massive opportunity. I think I'm going to be picking up some Bitcoin here, probably on election day, election night. We'll see. Steve, what's going on? A Tower of Stone says, great evening to all. Cheers, Tom. Good to see you. Welcome to 57th Street and 5th Avenue. Beautiful American flag. Steinway Tower in the distance. Central Park Tower. And the Louis Vuitton here. I know Josh L says the political yard sign season is about over. Fortunately, since I live in New York, I don't see too many political yard signs, mainly because there's no yards here. But check this out. This is a sneak peek at the Tiffany & Co. holiday windows. This is pretty cool, right? A little bit of sneak peek action here. Tiffany always does a great job. Sabrina Fair, what's going on? Damien. Jude, cheers. I'm ready for the election season to be over, and more specifically, the holidays to officially start. We got to cross the street to the north side because the facade of Tiffany is looking quite nice for the holidays. NYC, what's up? John Casey, UniJ23, welcome. Now, on the side of Tiffany, let's see if we can see it from this side. They set up like this ostrich or something. I don't know what the animal is called, but it looks kind of cool. We'll see if we can see it from the other side. But also, guys, a lot of corporate earnings coming up next week. The good news is, by and large, earnings essentially are in the rearview mirror for the big tech companies. Obviously, we have NVIDIA to report next week, or next month, I should say. But next week, we're going to hear from Palantir. They finally put up this snowflake in the middle of 5th Avenue. Reggie44, what's up? Spiffy, welcome. Austin City Limits, cheers to you. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Josh L says, did you get out during the marathon? The weather looked great. So I didn't watch the marathon this year, but I was spent a lot of time in the Upper West Side of Manhattan, so I got to see a lot of it. Check this out, guys. So right on Tiffany, look at that. I think we may take a little bit of time just to cross to the other side again, but I'll try to zoom in on this. Looks great for the holidays. Hey, New England Crypto, what's going on? Cheers. I think Bitcoin's back in the 68,000 range. Hopefully, it stays in that range throughout election. And I think that's going to be a last-ditch buying opportunity before we make our final ascent. But look at that. Pretty cool, right? Reggie 44 says go Palantir. Well, I guess we'll get started. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Walks in Wall Street. We are now officially in the thick of November. Final 2 months of the year. Hopefully we finish strong. Oh, actually, let's just do the quick nightly audio and visual check. If we're streaming in 1080p, also, if you guys can hear me, just give a thumbs up in the chat, and we'll get started. I just want to make sure everything's working well. Yeah, whatever that thing is pretty cool. Sarah, Molly, Michael, Tara. Mock East's audio is a bit nasally, a bit normal for me. That may just be me because it's cold out. I may just have a little bit of a stuffy nose. That may be me. It's quite cold and dry. The last 2 days have been 75 degrees. Now it's quite cold. Check out the Crown Building too. Look at this. The Amman, New York. Beautiful building here. Anyway, guys, this week is pretty big. Quite obviously, right? Election week, Tuesday. All Americans, and maybe some non-Americans, will be hitting the polls, mainly because we don't have voter ID laws here. A little bit of a joke. Chill. Not trying to set off a firestorm in the chat. But it is election week. Election day is Tuesday. We will be electing our new leader, either former President Donald Trump or current VP Kamala Harris. That should set off a little bit of market volatility, frankly put. But as we've been talking about, if we use history as our guide, if we kind of use earnings season as our guide, also the main macro fundamentals of a strong economy and a new bull market and global liquidity, any type of volatility, I think, should be looked at as an opportunity to get in here. That's my opinion. Doesn't mean I'm right. That's just kind of my viewpoint here. So we'll see. Are we going to have some sort of a tail risk event into the election? Are asset prices going to be sold off? Who knows? It's going to be interesting. And it's going to be very, very interesting to watch futures on Tuesday night as we're all tallying up the votes to see who the next president of the United States will be. Aside from that, if that wasn't enough, we are going to hear from the largest central bank in the world, that is the Federal Reserve here in the United States. Fed Chair Jerome Powell and his crew will be giving a large update in terms of monetary policy on Thursday. Now, the consensus is that we're going to get yet again another rate cut to the tune of 25 basis points. This comes off the back of the first 50 basis point rate cut. A few things to mention here that I think a lot of people are getting wrong. And so we'll kind of break it down and conceptualize it and talk about what it means. We got a horrible jobs number, right? 12,000 jobs added. And those 12,000 jobs were predominantly government jobs. But what people are missing here is that we had two major hurricanes that quite literally swept across the southeast and the eastern part of the United States, deeming much of the eastern part of the U.S. inoperable for that time. So I think that really skewed a lot of that data. If you go back, the last two jobs numbers came in pretty good, pretty strong. Unemployment rate still at 4.1%, which is at decade lows, So the economy is still strong. U.S. economy is still strong in my view. Yes, we got a lackluster jobs report, but I think that should be kind of null and void, if you ask me, due to the circumstances that just happened with the hurricanes. I think that's quite normal. So, the reason why I bring that up is because as the Federal Reserve looks at all the data, They're looking at all the data that we look at. They look at the ISM PMI numbers. They look at the non-farm payrolls. They look at the unemployment rate. They look at the labor force participation rate in the United States, and things are looking pretty good. Manufacturing sector is a little light, but if you look at the ISM services PMI, the U.S. is firing on all cylinders. Another thing to note, last quarter's GDP estimate came in a little light. That is true. However, if you look in the rearview mirror, the last two, I believe, GDP prints were actually revised higher. Most recently revised to 3% annual print for U.S. GDP. So, as the Federal Reserve looks at all that data and they decide to make a change to monetary policy, the consensus is that they will be pursuing another rate cut, but much smaller than the one that they initiated at the last FOMC meeting. So looks like we're going to get another 25 basis point rate cut. It'll be interesting to see how that impacts the markets. Pretty much being that since we got the rate cut, interest rates across the board in terms of U.S. Treasuries and other products really skyrocketed. Really skyrocketed across the board. I believe the 10-year U.S. Treasury yield is 4.35%. It's definitely over 4.25%. So it'll be interesting to see the reaction in the bond market, assuming we do get a rate cut. With that being said, let's go ahead and say hello to everybody in the chat, and we'll get started. We are walking down Central Park South, crossing Fifth Avenue tonight. I see Professor Dario. Good to see you, Professor. DC322, cheers. Dino, Austin City Limits. DC322 says, folks, I'm trying to do my best not to do political stuff here. Yeah, I know. I understand it's going to be pretty hard. Look, it's election day on Tuesday. It does move markets short term, so I get it. I think we have a little bit of leeway here and there. Unsolicited advice. Cheers to you. Alan says, can't believe it's November already. Pretty soon we're going to be watching the Thanksgiving Day Parade. I can't wait, for one, because hopefully the Thanksgiving Day Parade will act as a pretty nice distraction and keep everybody from talking about politics. I don't know about you guys. I don't live in a swing state, quite obviously. I live in New York. So I'm not really too exposed to the inundation of political advertisements. We briefly talked about this last night. If you live in a swing state, my God, there's hundreds of millions of dollars being poured into political advertising. You guys and girls are probably pretty taxed from all these political ads. So I think both Democrats and Republicans can agree that once this election season is finally over, my God, people can stop, fighting and talking about politics, particularly on the X platform. Many people who've been known for just chatting about the financial markets or, talking about the economy, it's been 100% politics from the likes of Bill Ackman, from the likes of Mark Cuban. It's everybody just pumping their candidate on their audience. And hopefully that will cease to exist after Election Day. We'll see. Now, you may notice Central Park South is pretty dead right now. It's because the NYPD just opened Central Park South because this was closed for the New York City Marathon. I'd like to take a moment just to congratulate anybody and everybody for completing the New York City Marathon today. It's a huge accomplishment. It was an amazing race. I personally didn't see it, but I spent a lot of time on the Upper West Side of Manhattan today, and it was kind of cool seeing all the runners that finished the race, at all the bars and the restaurants. So huge congratulations to all of our runners in New York City. It's a major, major accomplishment. Hey, JC is here. What's going on? The Forlorn Wanderer. Terry, welcome. New England Crypto says, Tom, did you know that the Bitcoin white paper is in every Apple Macintosh computer running? I did not. I really did not. The Bitcoin white paper, the anniversary was last week. What was it, October 31st? Ruiz, good to see you. Greetings, Tom, in chat. Cheers. We'll wait for this light and then we'll cross and head into Midtown Manhattan. Oh, I saw that. Someone's talking about Casey Neistat finally got his sub 3-hour marathon, which is crazy, by the way. That's a really, really fast time to complete a marathon. 26.1 or 26.2 miles in under 3 hours. That's a massive accomplishment. That is not easy to do whatsoever. New England Cryptos is October 31st. Was the 16th year anniversary of the Bitcoin white paper. It's crazy. Think about how far Bitcoin has come in those short 16 years, right? Now, in other, kind of Bitcoin news, the iShares BlackRock Bitcoin ETF Trust. Here you can kind of see the New York City Marathon remnants here. Ticker symbol IBIT. Was the fastest, broke records, the fastest ETF to reach $30 billion in assets under management. Pretty huge. I believe JP Morgan's JEPI was the former leader, and then the gold ETF, ticker symbol GLD, was the second runner-up. Maybe we'll see some more marathon signs as we kind of walk through. You're a hair away from the finish line. Hey, what's up, Jax? His winning time was 2 hours and 7 minutes, 39 seconds. That's crazy. 2 hours and 7 minutes. Wow. That's impressive. Now, what is the cash prize? What is the prize for winning the New York City Marathon? Does anybody know? Or is there any prize for winning the marathon? There has to be. I'm sure the New York Sanitation Department's going to be pretty busy here. Look at all the garbage and the remnants from the marathon, all the confetti, water bottles on the ground. Peter says it's $100,000 for winning the New York City Marathon. I was going to guess $1 million. Damn, I feel like it should be way more than that. For winning the New York City Marathon, it's $100,000. I feel like it should be at least $1 million. That's huge. Anyway, but congrats to anybody who ran. That's a huge accomplishment. Massive, massive accomplishment. I know, Kessis is only 100K. That's terrible. That's a lot lower than I would have ever guessed. I was going to guess $100,000. I was going to guess $1 million, not $100,000. Sabrina Fair, that's correct, says Tom, 59,000 subs on the channel. Crazy. So thank you all for that, by the way. That's pretty wild. 59,000 people are now subscribed to our stream here. It's been a fun time. It's been really, really fun. I've met some amazing people here. And that's why I continue to do it, because we have a pretty good bunch, pretty good group here of awesome people. And thank you all for watching. It means a lot. I think by the end of this year, we should probably hit 60,000 people. That's pretty nuts. Pretty nuts. I wanted just to do a quick recap. I know the Sunday night stream is supposed to be the markets, a look ahead, but just as a quick refresher, right? Because we're about to go into a time of, crazy uncertainty with this election. There's probably going to be a lot of gloom and doom posts out there. So I wanted just to remind everybody of something, okay? Right as we're standing on the corner of Central Park South and 6th Avenue, this is the Ritz-Carlton Hotel right here. Now, out of all of the major tech companies who reported earnings so far this earnings season, okay, we've had Netflix, we've had Meta, we've had Alphabet, Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, and Tesla. if you add up all of the profits from just those companies, okay, not including anything else, right? And we didn't even have NVIDIA report yet. They report next month. But if you take the total of everybody's net income, it would bring you to $101.23 billion. We'll just say $101 billion for short. So Netflix, Meta, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, and Tesla alone made in profit over $101 billion. Not last year, okay? Not the last 6 months, over the last 3 months. So think about that, in perspective the next time, you hear these kind of hyperbolic articles or newscasts about how the economy is doing so poorly and corporate America is doing so poorly. Corporate America has never done better than they are doing right now, okay? And it really goes back to the newsletter that I put out on Thursday. You guys are more than happy to check it out. It doesn't matter who wins the presidential election. It doesn't matter if Donald Trump wins. It doesn't matter if Kamala Harris wins. In terms of market performance, right, you can debate, social issues all you want. I'll stay out of that conversation because that's not my place to be. This is a financial show. But what impacts market movements, okay, are two things, generally speaking. GDP growth or the lack thereof in the United States. And number two is corporate earnings. If gross domestic product is growing in the U.S. and if corporate earnings are growing in the U.S., generally speaking, over time, the market will go up with a random walk. Look at this, guys. This is a beautiful shot of Steinway Tower. This is 111 West 57th Street. This is the skinniest residential apartment building in the entire world. And then you have 157 and Central Park Tower. As a quick reminder, if you have not yet signed up to our free investing newsletter, I did just put out our pre-election report. If you scan the QR code on your screen and punch in your email, it'll take you to our Behind the Street newsletter, where we did a deep dive into earnings season. We give you a little bit of a forecast and historical analysis of how stocks generally tend to perform after the election, once the election is out of the way. And what many people would be surprised to know is that Q4, after the election predominantly, historically speaking, the market, and by the market, meaning the S&P 500, tends to perform the best, outperforms after the uncertainty of the election. So much to pay attention to if you want to stay up to date on the markets through our free investing newsletter. Once again, you can just scan the QR code on your screen, punch in your email, and that'll take you to our Substack. For some reason, the NYPD still has Central Park South blocked off. I don't know why. Anyway, maybe they'll open it up soon. Reggie 44 says problem doesn't translate to most on Main Street. Wall Street is not the economy for most people. 100%. Yeah, it's kind of like that old saying, the stock market is not the economy. You're 100% correct. You're 100% correct. And kind of referring back to what we were talking to about the big tech earnings, right? Just those less than 12 companies made $101 billion, right? Not EBITDA, this is net income, right? So this is money they made, put in their pockets after taxes, after expenses, after paying the employees, after depreciation, everything. Net income, $101 billion across the board from those companies. To Reggie's point, what this means to me is that the hyperscalers and the big dogs, meaning the big tech companies, mega cap tech, continue to outperform, and it's that much harder for smaller companies to compete with these giant Goliaths. And it's true. That is the truth. Hey, Doc7, what's going on? Cheers. Mark SRT. Al Baker, welcome. This is 57th Street, Billionaires Row here. Amy T, what's going on? Cheers. Peter says too much of our GDP is government spending and not private sector activity. I agree, and that's another reason why I'm leaning bullish on the market, because in my view, right, regardless of what either candidate says, neither one of them is going to be in a position to do the right thing, which is slash fiscal spending. It's just not going to be possible, right? Whoever gets in, it's going to be pedal to the metal, print more money, turbocharge the economy, gas it. And we've had this conversation before too. I'm trying to be very, very careful with my choice of words here, but the American people need to kind of understand really what's going on. And in order for any politician to do the right thing, they're going to need to reason with the American people and tell them point blank that, look, if we want to do the right thing for our future long term, we're going to need to endure some short-term pain. And that short-term pain may be significant, right? To Peter's point, when we talk about a lot of that GDP growth having to do with government spending, when you have these big government spending programs, massive amounts of fiscal stimulus, not even taking into the account the monetary side, that is very stock market positive, right? That's good for jobs. A lot of these big tech companies get awarded lucrative government contracts, and that kind of acts to stimulate the economy. But look where we are right now. I believe our national debt hit a new all-time record high again over the weekend. I think we're closing in on $36 trillion in our national debt. And at the current pace we're on, our interest payments alone, and this is something we also spoke about, the interest payments alone on our national debt has now eclipsed what we spend for our national defense. Both Democrats and Republicans understand that's not sustainable. The problem is, you will not get elected, and I'll say this again, you will not get elected by telling the truth anymore. You can't. You have to gaslight, you have got to lie, and that is what Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are doing. Both of them are. They're not going to be able to cut government spending. It's impossible, okay? Because you're going to have the press go crazy saying, you see, look at the chart of the S&P 500 under this president and that president. You're not going to have cooperation on both sides of the aisle to say, guys, we're all in the same boat here as Americans. We've got to figure out this government spending thing. We got to cut costs. We have to essentially cull out the fat in our organization meaning the government. And that means we're probably going to have a little bit of a slump. We're probably going to have a little bit of a bump up in the unemployment rate. And that's not going to be allowed to happen by either side of the aisle because of ego, number one, and because it's all about the scorecard, right? Look at how high the stock market went under me. Look at how high the stock market went under this president. Look at how low the unemployment rate was under me. But unfortunately, that's kind of like kicking the can down the road behavior. Hopefully I'm making sense. Anybody have a take on that? Anybody think that I'm off base? Because I have an open mind. I'm willing to listen to anybody and everybody. That's just what I've been observing. That's just my personal opinion. That's what I've been observing. Hey, Mr. Porter, what's up? Says don't need to stop domestic spending, but can stop sending so much money abroad. Terrible. Yeah, that's something that'll probably never happen either, by the way. That's a whole other can of worms we could open. But if we do open that can of worms, we will be banned from YouTube. Black Ribbon, what's going on? Cheers. A Room C, welcome. Yeah, it's kind of like a rock. It's kind of like these politicians on both sides, the Democrats and the Republicans, are in between a rock and a hard place, right? Because let's say if Kamala gets elected, or Madam Vice President currently would be Madam President. If she gets elected and if she says, look, we're going to do the right thing, we're going to reduce fiscal spending, that's going to cause a short-term contraction, and obviously it's going to cause the unemployment rate to spike a little bit, but that's actually good. But you would have the press, absolutely down her throat about she's ruining the economy, look at this is crazy, and it would be the exact same thing if Trump did that. So I think we need to come to a point where we have the media on the same side as the politicians and get the politicians on the same side as well to say, look, we're going to have to endure this for 4 years. But if we endure this, adopt like a Mark Zuckerberg style, a year of efficiency, yes, we're going to see short-term contraction, but we're going to slingshot out of this. And it's going to be like a utopia. But that'll never happen. So it's almost not really worth talking about. So what we can do as traders and investors is pick the horses in the race that are going to weather and fare better as the government keeps spending, as our deficit continues to grow, as our currency continues to be devalued and debased. And currently, I think that is precious metals, and I think that is Bitcoin. And equities too. So should we, and when we, have a correction in the market, or let's say equities pull back a little bit, we have a little bit of a sector rotation, depending on who's president, or I should say regardless of who's going to be president, I think that would be a buying opportunity, in my view. This is 53 West 53rd Street here. Hey Omar, what's up? This is Hey Tom, we always stay at the Hilton, great place. Hilton is a really good place, and they've just renovated it too. So if you stayed at that main flagship Hilton after the pandemic, you've probably noticed all the renovations. John Marie says, I was surprised to see Coinbase drop significantly last week when Bitcoin has been at a high. Well, there's this guy on Twitter. I'll give him a little bit of a plug because he has posted really, really good analysis. Marlin Capital, he's a quant right here in New York City. And he posted historical uptick in volatility in and around election cycles. And we're actually a little bit lagging this year for whatever reason. And the market usually sells off, usually have a pan sell-off into the election, a major spike in the VIX, the CBOE volatility index, and then 2 or 3 days after the election, you have volatility significantly contract and go down, which makes sense, right? Because people position themselves, they raise cash, they sell assets, and depending on who's the winner, investors will step back into the market and position themselves accordingly based upon who wins. So you always have these very brash market movements around any type of very hysterical and emotional event. And there's nothing more hysterical and there's nothing more emotional than the 2024 presidential election, okay? With Donald Trump again running and President Joe Biden getting tossed to the side, taken out back behind the woodshed, and having Kamala being put in place. So there's no more polarizing election cycle than this. So there's definitely a lot for investors to be kind of skittish about. But people who have a cool head will provide significant opportunities for us. So I think there's going to be some good opportunities here. Altman says, hey, good evening. Good to see you. Let me try to catch up on some of the comments here. Someone says combining tariffs with getting rid of income tax for low and middle class families, as well as sealing the border bleeding, will heal the country for the working people. Yeah, I mean, easier said than done, but I'm on whatever team wants to do that. I'm Team America, so. Donna says, hey, Joe did the right thing. He accepted the fact that he was too old. Perhaps. Hey, NBA Elias. And Donna, you're coming to New York pretty soon, right? That's exciting. I remember you were telling me that you hopefully we get some cold weather. Well, we got it. It's no longer 75 degrees in New York City. Let's just say that. It's rather cold here. So, Con I am says, you can see the condition of San Francisco now, of her doings. Well, I think there's a lot of opportunity in San Francisco now. I think you're going to have a big V-shaped recovery, particularly in real estate assets in San Francisco. I don't like the politics of San Francisco either, at all. But for whatever reason, the intellectual capital has not left San Francisco Bay Area. This is 53 West 53rd Street. You can kind of see the pool in the building here. I don't know, I mean, to kind of look on the bright side of things, right? There's also too much forced innovation. So when we think about government spending, when we think about massive government subsidy, coupled with all of the new technology coming down the pike with AI, right? We spent the last 2 weeks on the live broadcast talking about all of the big tech companies that reported earnings, particularly Microsoft, who made $24.6 billion over the last 3 months, Amazon, who made $15.3 billion over the last 3 months, the most profitable quarter in their history, by the way, and Meta making $15.7 billion over the last 3 months, up 35% year over year. All of those companies have come out and said that they are investing or have signed a significant contract with a nuclear energy provider to have energy provided to their data centers. If you don't think the government's going to have to step in here and provide massive subsidy or just direct spending, I think you're pretty crazy. So you have all of these factors, all of these main growth drivers firing on all cylinders. So aside from the big AI boom we're having that's been driving a lot of these tech stocks, particularly the big cloud computing companies like Google's Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, AWS, you're now also out of the blue, right, literally out of nowhere, you're probably going to have a super cycle in energy production, particularly nuclear. So the only thing that I could think of where we don't have a deficit death spiral is that we're just going to have so much massive economic growth that we're just going to grow our way out of this. And that actually may be the case. The problem is, and I think this was either Reggie or Peter that said this at the very beginning of the stream, that the stock market is not the economy. You're going to see in the continued inflation of asset prices, you'll probably see, this cycle, $100,000 plus Bitcoin. You'll probably see all the cloud providers go up another 100%. The problem is the masses have very, very little exposure to these assets in comparison to what the top 10% of Americans have. There's a massive wealth divide in this country. So you'll probably see the continuation of the top 1% getting increasingly more wealthy in this country, while the bottom 99%, or you can just consider them, the working poor class, if they don't have exposure to at least some assets, they may get left behind. Right? If you look at the economic recovery from 2008, or let me rephrase that. I won't say economic recovery. It was a massive economic recovery, but we'll just keep it focused on the stock market. Since the lows of 08-09 till now, the S&P 500 is up hundreds of percent. Again, going back to that kind of notion, the problem is the lion's share of America didn't really benefit as much as the top 10% did, just mainly because of asset ownership in and of itself. You could say the same thing about homes too, right? If you're a Gen Z, trying to buy a home right now, the prices of houses are inflated. Now they're coming down, which is good news, but generally speaking, you have the highest interest rates have ever been in a decade. We're at a 7%, I think it's 7.25, 7.25% 30-year fixed rate mortgage on average, while you have the median home price in America hovering in and around record highs. So if you need financing, right, or if you need to take on debt to acquire a property, when you do the calculation to say, hey, is it more advantageous to rent or is it more advantageous to buy something? Most cases nowadays, it's more advantageous to rent because really the cost of capital and the prices of the assets just haven't really come down that much. We're right under Radio City Music Hall right now. You can see the Christmas Spectacular with the Radio City Rockettes, which is kind of cool. Frederico says, Tom, I don't want to be pessimistic, but I believe we will be in a war economy soon, no matter who wins. I don't know if that's necessarily pessimistic, because one could make a very strong argument that we are in a war economy right now. Just because technically the United States isn't in a hot war with Iran, isn't in a hot war with Russia, we're kind of essentially subsidizing all of that, right? And this goes back to the military-industrial complex and the like. Here's one thing I'll say about the horrendous incompetent withdrawal from Afghanistan, which was probably the most embarrassing day in U.S. history. I was talking to a guy who was, an ex-Special Forces guy, and he said that the only explanation for this is that it's by design, right? If we leave trillions of dollars worth of equipment there, right, give up the Bagram Air Base, that is very, very pro-military-industrial complex, because guess what? That means we have to go to Northrop Grumman, we have to go to Raytheon, we have to go to all the defense contractors and buy new stuff. We have to buy more weapons of war, more planes, more drones, right? We have to refresh the arsenal again, right? And we conveniently leave the enemy with a treasure trove of top-of-the-line weapons, right? What are we doing with the war in Ukraine? Well, we're giving them all of our old weapons to fight the Russians. So we're depleting our stockpiles of old weapons that we were going to throw out anyway. And now that creates an opening for us to buy new stuff from all the defense contractors. So you could say that that is also bullish for those defense stocks. More spending on war. The military-industrial complex continues to turn. So I guess one could make the argument that we are already technically in a quote-unquote, to use your term, war economy, which has been driving growth. It's kind of very cringy to say, because I don't know how these business people can put numbers on human life, but that's essentially what's been happening. Wow, look at this, guys. This is pretty cool. Look at all these American flags around Rockefeller Center. Oh, this is so sick. You guys are going to love this. So they have the Decision 2024 projected on Rockefeller Center. This is pretty cool. So if you're watching the Decision 2024 election night, this is where it's going to be filmed, right here. This looks awesome. Let's take a little bit of a walk around here. I think last quarter they've eclipsed Tesla's revenue for the first time ever. I was reading that in Barron's, so there is increased competition, but that does not shake my wavering, or that does not shake my bullish energy for Tesla at all. But it is notable, definitely is notable. This is awesome. I may have to come back here tonight and take a picture of this. Rockefeller Center lit up in red, white, and blue for the 2024 U.S. presidential election. Hey, what's up, Brad? It's a good Sunday evening. All big earnings day tomorrow. Yeah, your Palantir is this week. So ticker symbol PLTR is going to be reporting earnings this week. Also, a lot of private equity giants are going to be reporting this week too. Apollo Global Management will be reporting as well. I just want to get a little bit of a closer look at the studio here. I believe they're setting this up for tomorrow. Good Morning America. This is where they film it right here. You can see the NBC Nightly News segment. So if you ever watch, Good Morning America, I believe Hoda Coffee is... Who's on it nowadays? Actually, I haven't watched it in such a long time. Hoda Coffee, anyway, whoever is on that show, they film it literally right here. And the backdrop at the Today Show is this, Rockefeller Center, which looks amazing with all these American flags. We should have it like this every day of the year. Looks great. The last time I watched the Today Show... Oh, is it the Today Show? Did I say Good Morning America? I don't know. I don't really pay attention to that stuff. But the last time I watched it was when that guy Matt Lauer was on. Hopefully I'm not confusing the shows. I think Matt Lauer was on the Today Show. I'm almost positive he was at one time. Not that it matters, but... Yeah, next week is going to be crazy. Also, Airbnb, ticker symbol AB... is it ABNB? I think is the ticker. They're going to be reporting earnings next week, and Ferrari. I wrote Ferrari down because Ferrari's been a top-performing stock. The ticker symbol is RACE, R-A-C-E. There was such an interesting article in Barron's 2 weeks ago about Ferrari, the stock, and the business model, where the whole business model is about limiting supply. So they have, and don't quote me directly on this, you could Google the Barron's article, but management at Ferrari, essentially what they'll do is they'll test the waters of demand, And let's say if they have demand for, 1,000 vehicles, I'm just using a round number, they'll only produce 500. So they'll always produce about half the demand to keep supply extremely, extremely scarce, and to keep that allure of you have like a prized possession vehicle. And you could also command a price premium and keep margins pretty high. So that's going to be an interesting one. Ferrari, ticker symbol RACE, reporting earnings this week. Let's walk around from the other side just so we can see the ice skating rink. Yeah, Doc 7 says NVIDIA's earnings is just before Thanksgiving. That's going to be the last company in the Mag 7 to report. Now, I have a prediction for NVIDIA's earnings. There's probably going to be talk and questions about SMCI. I'm sure everybody knows by now because we have been covering it on the stream. But SMCI is in a lot of trouble. EY, which is a major accounting firm, consulting firm, has essentially dropped SMCI as a customer or as a client. They want nothing to do with the company. And SMCI is the 4th largest customer of NVIDIA. So I'm sure there's going to be questions. Man, that looks awesome. That almost looks a little unreal. Hey, what's up, Deshaun? So I was just skating at the rink. Awesome. How'd you like it? Hopefully you had a good time. Lots of people too skating here after the New York City Marathon. Very cool. Let's walk around to the front of 5th Avenue. You can see all the lights. Terry says, do I skate? No, I do not possess those skills, unfortunately. Oh, look at this. This is cool. You have a behind-the-scenes look at... Wow, very cool. That's awesome. Let me try to go to the wide angle lens. I know the quality's not good, but we'll be able to see, you'll be able to see a little bit better of what I see here. Pretty cool. Hey, what's up? Check the logic. Pretty soon you'll have the main holiday display here, right on Saks Fifth Avenue. Tay, this is Tom. How is it living in New York? Living in New York is amazing. I would highly, highly recommend it. There's lots of opportunity in New York City. Here's the top of One Vanderbilt. Maybe we'll come here to live stream on election night. You guys really need to see this in person. I really don't think the stream does it justice. This looks incredible in person. The colors, I mean, it almost looks like Rockefeller Center is painted blue and red. Like, that's how vivid the colors are in person. It's crazy. It's really cool. We'll do one more pass through and then we'll head out. Troy Atmans, they didn't do that last year. Well, no, I mean, they do that every 4 years, right? For the presidential election. And I don't remember I ever walked through here in the 2020 election. It's just such a blur. I mean, the 2020 was such a blur for everybody, I would assume. It was really a blur for me. I mean, I remember what I was doing, but I don't remember looking at Rockefeller Center. I really don't. Oh, nice. Hikes. I'm having a watch party for the election with a few friends back home on Discord. Love that. I don't know. There's always a lot of good live streams to watch on election night. I'd say NBC, CNN has a good election map, Fox News. Really any of the main news stations have like and I don't know. My one hope is that regardless, everyone just stays chill and cool and just kind of has respect for the outcome and respect for whoever anyone wants to vote for. which I feel like that's how it used to be, but if you want to support President Trump, more power to you. Good luck to President Trump. If you want to support current VP Kamala Harris, support her. More best of luck. I think everything will be fine. Anyway, I think Airbnb is going to crush on earnings. Anecdotally, my properties have been totally booked up. And more people, I'm not sure if you guys saw this Wall Street Journal article, which it's not good news. So I'm not bringing this up to say that, oh, this is really good news. It's just like a comparison, right? And kind of fueling the bull thesis for Airbnb. It said in major cities like New York, like LA, like Miami, where the cost of living is so high, what's happening right now is young people, even though that they have good jobs, right? So you could be a young person, maybe you're making, $70,000 a year. Maybe you have poor credit history because you made a few mistakes in college, you missed some credit card payments or whatever, right? Increasingly, young people are getting turned down from apartments because specifically if you're talking about New York, you need to make 40 times the 40 times the monthly rent. So in other words, if your rent is $2,000 a month, in order to get approved for that apartment, you need to make 40 times 2,000. So in New York City terms, realistically, any decent apartment in Manhattan is probably going to be $3,500 plus. So if you're making 50 grand, you don't even qualify to get a basic, bottom of the barrel apartment. So what more people are doing is they're renting on a monthly basis on platforms like Airbnb. There's a whole article written about it where young people are like, hey, I can't get a guarantor. I don't have a great relationship with my parents, or my parents don't make enough money. Even if I do have the guarantor, I won't have anybody that makes that amount of income. And I don't want to get guarantor insurance, so I'm just renting something on a monthly basis on a platform like Airbnb where I could just do month-to-month rentals, 30-day plus rentals, and I don't have to have any credit check. I don't have to do any deposit. I just pay for it, and that's it. So it's almost acting as, again, I don't want to say that's good news, that people can't afford to even sign a lease for a basic apartment in major cities, but that is acting as a benefit to platforms like Airbnb. Anybody experience something similar or have heard a similar story? I mean, I believe it. If you want to get your own place, if you don't want to live with roommates, you're probably looking at $3,000 minimum. Jean Marie says, what about all the fees with Airbnb, cleaning fee, Airbnb fee? In my view, and I predominantly use Airbnb to rent out my property. And the fees are agreed upon beforehand, and the hosts set the fees. So whenever you see these posts on social media that, Airbnb sucks, this is a $500 cleaning fee, well, those people who are posting that are idiots for agreeing to paying a $500 cleaning fee. All of the fees are disclosed beforehand. Me personally, I make it a flat $50 fee. I charge them $50. It doesn't matter if you're staying at my place for 30 days or 365 days. It's $150 flat cleaning fee, and that's it. That's the only fee you pay. Other hosts may jack the fees, but I wouldn't stay at those properties that jack the fees and make it crazy. And whenever I use Airbnb to travel places, I never really see egregious fees. So I don't know what those people are talking about, to be honest. Anyway, if you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. We do these live streams every single day starting at 8:45. And it's just a quick reminder, if you like these financial conversations that we have each and every night, we also write a free investing newsletter for the chat. We just sent it out on Thursday, and we talked about a lot. We talked about tech earnings. We talked about historical S&P 500 performance during election years. So if you want to support our work for free, just scan the QR code on your screen and punch in your email, and that'll take you to our Substack, our Behind the Street newsletter. We send it out completely free every other Thursday. Go ahead and check it out. This looks awesome, though, the tree at Radio City Music Hall. Hey, Hike Scenic, thank you so much for your support. I appreciate it, and hopefully you're having a wonderful night. Thank you for your support. Cheers to you. This is looking down towards the News Corporation building, Fox News and the like. We got to head back uptown. It may be a short stream tonight because I got to be up early. I have one of those painstaking in-office 8 o'clock sharp meetings. Look at this Cybertruck here. I think Monday morning in-person meetings should be 9 a.m. earliest, I'd say. Love this Cybertruck. Hey Juan, good to see you. Ooh, we're gonna get to see the Cybertruck turn right here. I love that thing. I know many of you hate it. I love the Cybertruck. Peter says you like the silver color. I like that matte black Cybertruck we walked past last night. That was my favorite wrap by far. Somebody at 15 Central Park West has a matte red Cybertruck. Crypto Meme says love it. Mark Francis says it's growing on me. I want to test drive a Cybertruck. When it comes time for me to get a car, which is probably going to be near impossible if I continue to spend most of my time in New York, it'll definitely be an EV. It's probably almost 100% going to be a Tesla. I'm debating on the Model X and the Cybertruck. The problem with the Cybertruck is it's just so big. It's almost too big. I don't know how anybody has a Cybertruck in Manhattan. So like, where would you park it? Hey, Vivian Francesca. Good to see you. Tom M says Ford suspends production of the F-150 Lightning. EVs suck. Well, it's not profitable for Ford to make EVs. It's pretty much not profitable for any other company besides Tesla to make an EV. I think it's something crazy like Ford loses $25,000 per electric vehicle they sell. I'm not sure. Oh, I was going to recommend an amazing podcast episode to listen to. The CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald was on the Pomp podcast, Anthony Pompliano's podcast. It was an awesome interview. And there was a lot of talk about electric vehicles. And there was also a lot of talk about our national debt problem with some possible solutions. Check that out. I think it's well worth your time. CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald and Pomp. Really, really good conversation. Someone's asking about Lucid Motors. Not a big fan of the design. I think it looks all right, but I think Teslas look better than... I think Teslas look better than Lucids, in my view. Look at this big motorcade with the NYPD. I know Emmanuel's Tom Cantor was on the top of the World Trade Center. They talked about 9/11 a lot in the interview. The last, I'd say, 10 minutes of the interview was all about 9/11 and how Cantor kind of overcame a lot of that. I mean, the loss, tragic loss. I think they lost over 100 people, or way more than 100 people. It was terrible. Now, my old building, 1166 Avenue of the Americas, was the Marsh McLennan building. I think they lost the second most people. And we had a big 9/11 memorial at 1166 Avenue of the Americas. But yeah, check it out. Once again, if you're just joining, I recommend it. A really, really good listen. Just type in on YouTube, CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald and Anthony Pompliano, or Pomp, P-O-M-P. Just an unbelievable wealth of knowledge. Awesome stories about, the heydays back on Wall Street. And there's a large chunk of the podcast about Bitcoin, the future of digital currency, fintech, the future of banking, the future of big M&A transactions. Yeah, Jamie says 600 people at Cantor Fitzgerald. I can't even wrap my head around that. It's terrible. But yeah, check it out. It was a really good conversation. He's a super sharp guy, which I believe he is on the Trump transition team as well. Let's go under here and out the other way. I didn't know there was going to be this much construction here. Oh, that's right. Kamala Harris was on Saturday Night Live. I didn't get a chance to watch it. I'll probably watch the clips on the train tonight. I didn't want to wait for the light to cross. Anyway, last thing that we should touch on before we head out. Aside from the election day, we're going to hear from the Fed. The FOMC meeting is on Thursday. The consensus is for a 25 basis point interest rate cut on Thursday. What's going on here? I think the road is still closed, but people are going down it anyway. And we'll see how the bond market reacts to that. Should be pretty interesting, being that Treasury yields are now significantly higher than before the first interest rate cut. Ooh, that guy almost blew that red light. All right, guys, we do have to cut it short here, but we will be live tomorrow at 8:45. Have a wonderful week. Best of luck. We'll be back tomorrow at 8:45. If you want to subscribe to our free investing newsletter, we just sent it out on Thursday. You could scan the QR code on the screen, punch in your email, and you'll be signed up for our Substack. We talked about a lot. We went deep on a lot of the tech earnings, the election, and much, much more. But until then, we'll see you all tomorrow. Doc7, thank you so much. Professor Dario, all of our moderators, Black Ribbit, Muhammad, MBA Elias, Steve. We'll see you all tomorrow. Have a wonderful week. God bless, and good luck. Thanks.